This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. It's a whole new campaign 92. President Bush worked overtime today, feverishly playing defense, working on spin and damage control. Official results released tonight from the New Hampshire primary show almost half the Republicans voted against Mr. Bush. 37% for Pat Buchanan, 10% for others. These official results are, you're right, a big change in the numbers that you've been reading and hearing about since last night. The central pool polling operation used by news organizations to report the New Hampshire results made mistakes last night. We reported some wrong information. President Bush, it turns out, did not get 57% of the Republicans' votes cast. He got only 53%. Now, here with an explanation is CBS News' own Director of Surveys, Kathy Frankenberg. Kathy, this morning's newspapers were filled with it. These figures that we reported last night. What happened? And try to explain it to our viewers.
Well, there's one basic explanation, and that is that last night's numbers did not include a lot of write-in votes. There were over 7% of the votes cast in the Republican primary were write-ins, and a lot of them were write-ins for Democratic candidates. And what that suggests is, as you said, the magnitude of opposition towards George Bush was quite sizable.
I want to make sure I understand. A lot of people who wrote in the names of Democratic candidates on the Republican side of the primary.
That's right. Well over 3,000 voted for Paul Tsongas. Other votes were cast for Mario Cuomo, for Ralph Nader, and for Bill Clinton.
But this central pooling operation, should it not have calculated for that?
Well, I spoke with Warren Matofsky, who's the director of VRS, and he suggested one thing that I think sounds right, and that is that those people who wrote in the Republican primary and wrote in Democratic names probably checked off as having voted for the Democratic candidate on the Democratic side.
So if you're a Republican and you said, yes, I voted for Tsongas, but you voted for him on the Republican side.
It was a whole lot easier on the questionnaire to check off Tsongas under the list of Democratic candidates.
All right, last line. Better news, worse news, or about the same news for President Bush?
Well, I think 53% for an incumbent president running in his own party's primary is not very good news.
And lower than the figure we reported last night.
Lower than the figure we reported.
Kathy Frankenberg, thanks on short notice for helping us out here. President Bush says that he will now fight and win the South. He campaigned there today. Buchanan says he'll take the fight south, too. White House correspondent Susan Spencer has our report.
Leader, how sweet it is.
Pat Buchanan was still trumpeting his New Hampshire showing as a tremendous win today, a view President Bush found decidedly odd.
Since when has an 18-point victory been considered anything other than a landslide?
Nonetheless, a somewhat chastened Mr. Bush wasted no time heading south, home to many of the states that vote Super Tuesday. One aide predicted he will win all of them, and not by being kind and gentle.
And we're going to take this guy on in every single state. I'd have to do a little definition of who it is, because all I did was lay back and get hammered by these Democrats, and to some degree by Pat. And so it's a new ball game, and we're coming out strong.
Stooping to his first actual mention of Buchanan's name may signal a new get tough policy, but there was little Buchanan bashing today. Instead, Mr. Bush concentrated on the economy and his deadline for Congress.
No more games, pass our plan, and get this economy moving again all across the country.
On Capitol Hill, Fed Chairman Alan Greenspan hinted he's done his part. Don't expect lower interest rates soon.
Looking forward, there are reasons to believe that business activity should pick up.
It may not matter so much in the South, where the economy is mixed. Some expect Mr. Bush to concentrate instead on red meat social issues and Pat Buchanan's record.
I think President Bush is in real political trouble in the South. He has lost the